Hello, America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be happy to have you. Can I just say and I realize, were I a better radio show host, I would save this for a short segment. I don't understand the people who coordinate Halloween costume. And I have lots of friends, and so I don't mean to be insulting my friends. I see your Instagram pictures, the whole family thematically dressed up for Halloween. I don't get it. I don't know. I got friends who their families were like a whole slew of Disney characters. Some of them were Ninja Turtles. Nope. My family never. Part of that was the age disparity, I think, between me and my older sisters and whatnot. But nope. No, can't. I don't get it. I don't relate. I'm glad you do, and I'm glad you had fun. And some of them were very adorable to see on Instagram. But it's just not me. And also, please, y'all, listen. I am self-aware when I make this remark, but moms in particular. Because it was the moms, it was not the dads last night. Moms, you're not thin enough or young enough to wear what you were wearing. And I'm sorry if that's insulting, but come on, nobody wants to see that. Nobody. Your children were embarrassed. That's why they were so far ahead of you last night trick-or-treating. They didn't know. Stop. Have some self-awareness, please. My God, people, just please, no. If your pants look like they were painted on and you are got too many curves, y'all stop, please. Last night, it was not a matter of the parents dressing their children up in skimpy outfits. It was the parents themselves wearing skimpy outfits when they did not need to wear skimpy outfits. There was too much of them to see with the skimp. We can move on now. I got it out of me. Oh my gosh. All right. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be happy to have you. We got to talk about the story. On October 29th, officers from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and Removal Operation Chicago lodged an immigration detainer with Cook County Jail in Chicago, Illinois, on Sidi Mohammed Abdullahi, 22, a Mauritanian national, following his arrest for 6 counts of attempted murder and 4 counts of aggravated discharge of a firearm. Mohammed Abdullahi was encountered by U.S. Border Patrol on March 31st, 2023, near San Ysidro, California. This man, Sidi Abdullahi, from Mauritania, 22, somehow got a gun and shot an American citizen who's an Orthodox Jew who is headed to synagogue in Chicago. This man was released by the Border Patrol into the United States on March 31st, 2023. And because Chicago is a sanctuary city, Chicago was unwilling to previously comply with requests about this gentleman to detain him. An American citizen who is Jewish walking to a synagogue on Saturday was shot, thankfully not killed, by a Mauritanian Muslim illegal immigrant who somehow got a gun. Now, it's Chicago. Apparently, it's not hard for people who aren't allowed to own guns to get a gun. He got a gun, an illegal alien. Y'all, one of my frustrations with Donald Trump is his, as I started our talking about Halloween costumes, his impulse control issues and his lack of focus. Being on stage with Tucker Carlson last night, I mean, he had to have known the media was going to play up anything. In fact, he made a joke about it on Thursday night, climbing into the garbage truck. If he didn't get it right, they would make jokes about his mental capacity and cognitive decline. And so he says what he says about Liz Cheney on stage with Tucker Carlson. That becomes the big headline. Donald Trump should pivot to this story. Donald Trump's closing argument should be about Mohammed Abdullahi shooting a Jew on his way to synagogue on Saturday in Chicago. Donald Trump's closing argument should be this story. This would not have happened if Donald Trump were president of the United States. And by the way, this is the perfect story for Donald Trump to end his campaign on, because the man who was shot was Orthodox Jew. That will perfectly divide the Democrats. This shouldn't happen, and it keeps happening. And Kamala Harris has been there the whole time. She could have changed. She says she's going to change things. She could have changed things. She hasn't changed things. She hasn't engaged on the issue. Kamala Harris claims that if she becomes president of the United States, that the border policies of the Biden-Harris administration will change. Why hasn't she changed them now? Had the Biden-Harris administration actually done a good job on the border, this man in Chicago would not have been shot by a Muslim illegal alien who somehow was able to get a gun. Side note, there's a perfect pivot for Donald Trump on this issue about guns. The Democrats do want to take your guns away. Kamala Harris can say she's an owner of a Glock all she wants. Tim Walz can say he's a hunter all he wants. You know, and I know, they want to take your guns away. How is it as easy as it is for an illegal alien in Chicago to possess a firearm that they cannot legally buy? How did they get it? Where did they get it from? They don't want law-abiding citizens to arm themselves, and yet illegal aliens keep finding their way into guns. Donald Trump, for the next 3 days, talk about Mohammed Abdullahi. Talk about people in this country should not have to worry about going to church or synagogue and getting shot by illegal aliens. Talk about the young women in this country who have been killed by illegal aliens. Oh, the media is going to hate it. The media is going to savage you. The media is going to twist what you say. But the difference between your Liz Cheney comment and this is every American knows what you mean and they're sympathetic to your statements. Talk about the economy, 12,000 jobs created. They were expecting 100,000 created. You know, in the final jobs number before the 2020 election, 600,000 jobs were created. NBC News said that was a bad number. Should have been over 1 million. People coming back from COVID. Should have been over 1 million. That it wasn't showed the economy was not recovering. NBC treated 600,000 jobs created as bad. They're pretty quiet about 12,000. Talk about that. Crime, the border, the economy. Here's my concern. Bottom line, here's my concern. I think that Donald Trump has been shown his polling. And Donald Trump knows how good his polling position is. That he's not going to Arizona anymore doesn't mean he doesn't think he's going to win it. It doesn't think he's going to win. He thinks he's already won it. That he's not going to Nevada in the last few days. He was just there. He's got to focus on the East Coast, but they feel pretty good about Nevada. He's not going to Wisconsin. He's going to spend a lot of time in North Carolina and Pennsylvania, one stop in Georgia, one stop in Michigan. He's focused on where it matters. Kamala Harris has pulled all of her money out of North Carolina. She's not going back to that state. She thinks she's lost it. Kamala Harris is focused on Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. She thinks if she wins all three Great Lakes states, she wins, and she's right with the Electoral College. Trump needs to focus on the issues, not Liz Cheney. Trump needs to focus on the issues, not Kamala Harris. Crime, immigration, the economy. He can win this election on those things. He has been winning the election on those things. The trend lines are there for Donald Trump. The trend lines are there. 12,000 jobs created in the economy. Maybe there was a hidden apostrophe or comma in there we don't know about. Doesn't seem to be the case. An Orthodox Jew on his way to synagogue shot by an illegal alien from Mauritania who got a gun in Chicago. This is Joe Biden's America. There's a story as well of an illegal alien from Honduras who has been arrested, charged with raping multiple children as young as 4. This illegal alien from Honduras was enrolled as a student in a public school in Louisiana. There's your story. Yes. Is it fear-mongering? Yeah. But, I mean, Kamala Harris is out there telling the women that Donald Trump's going to kill them all if he becomes president. If you want to fear-monger with the actual news headlines. Fear-monger with the actual story that's going on. Fear-monger with the truth, not the lie. An Orthodox Jew walking to synagogue in Chicago was shot by a Muslim illegal alien who got a gun in Chicago. Children as young as 4 in Louisiana have been raped by a Honduran national illegal alien enrolled in public schools in Louisiana using federal dollars to cover his tuition. This is happening. This is happening in the United States of America. This should be Donald Trump's closing argument. It's political malpractice if he's not focused on these issues at the end. He does not need to be like that Jets football player, running across into the end zone, dropping the football early. Stay on message. Keep your foot on the gas. Keep rolling forward. The economy, illegal immigration, and crime. The economy, illegal immigration, and crime. Ignore all the rest of it. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number 877-973-7425. It is an open line Friday, and Tracy has been waiting very patiently. Tracy, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, Eric, you were speaking truth about ladies in the Halloween costumes, but you're going to be in so much trouble.
Listen, I don't mean to be insulting, but my neighbor across the street even came where there was one particular family, and my neighbor came over and she looked at me and she said, I guess I can't really say what she said on air. I'll get in trouble. But she's like, this woman, she's like, how, like so it was my neighbor who pointed out, and she just said, did you see that this woman's kids were embarrassed? I was like, okay, I'm glad you said that because I thought that. And I'm just like, come on, people, act your age.
Well, here are my questions. If Trump wins the presidency and Republicans win the House and Senate, what can Trump and those Republicans accomplish in the first 2 years of his term? And then why did those Republicans support the bipartisan immigration bill that Harris touts?
Oh, good questions. Okay. So let's deal with the bipartisan immigration bill first. So there are a number of Republicans who actually think and argue that the group that opposed it actually mischaracterized it and mischaracterized it, gambling that if Trump gets elected and the GOP gets the House and Senate, they can go even further. So you had some who wanted a solution and others who were like, we can get a better deal if we win everything, and they were willing to play for broke to try to get it. That was that one. Now, on the first one, what can Trump and the GOP actually do? Reconciliation. People forget that the Democrats under Chuck Schumer have set a precedent that in the first year of a presidency, a president can do 2 reconciliation packages. That is, they can do 2 budget packages that bypass the filibuster. So you can, as long as you get a majority in the House, 218 votes, and 50 plus one in the Senate, you can pass these massive budget reconciliation plans twice in the first year. So they can do a dramatic upheaval of the budget and tax packages if they control everything. The more important issue, though, Tracy, that they can do is judges. There are going to be a lot of open judicial seats. In addition, Clarence Thomas and Sam Alito. Clarence Thomas is not getting any younger, and neither is Sam Alito. And the next president has the opportunity to replace Clarence Thomas for sure, maybe even Sam Alito. They don't want to wind up like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And the rumor on the street in Washington is that if Trump gets elected with a Republican Senate, once this term is up for the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas is very likely to retire, knowing he doesn't want to take a chance on a Democratic-controlled Senate after 2026. So he would be willing to retire. That's why the GOP needs to go for broke on Tuesday and win everything, because they absolutely need to replace Clarence Thomas. He's not getting any younger. I wish he was immortal, but he's not. And we don't want him to wind up like Ruth Bader Ginsburg or for that matter, have an Antonin Scalia moment. So that is where I think the lay of the land is. Judges are supremely important, but also they're going to have a great opportunity to do two budget reconciliations and the tax reform package as well. That's why we need House and Senate control plus the presidency. Now, I got to tell you about Vision Computers. If you're a sole proprietor, if you're an independent contractor, if you work out of a coffee shop, you're doing graphic design, whatever, Vision can build you a computer that meets your needs, and you get their great tech support. If you call them at 404 Compute, but let's say you've already got a computer. You don't need a new computer, but you sure could use someone you could rely on for help when you don't know how to do something, when something doesn't seem to be right, for email support, for printer support. If you call Vision Computer at 404 Compute and talk to them, for $179 a year, they can be your IT solution. So you're sitting in the coffee shop doing your work as a freelancer. You can call Vision when something goes wrong. 15 seconds or less, you're going to get the answer for what's going on. And if they can't give it to you directly, they can remote into your computer and figure it out for you. All you can do is call them at 404 Compute. They can be your tech support solution. You're a freelancer. You're in the gig economy. You can't afford any downtime. They'll make sure you don't get any downtime. They'll keep you up and running. 404 Compute. Give Vision a call. In fact, if you call Vision Computer at 404 Compute, tell them I sent you, you're going to save even more money. You can also go check them out at visioncomputers.com, anywhere nationwide. 404 Compute. Give Vision Computers a call. Mark Halperin reporting right now on social media, the inside belief is that Trump has stalled. No more upward momentum in his campaign. There you have it from Mark Halperin. All right, it is Open Line Friday. The phone number is 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, Adam, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Eric, thank you for having me.
Sure.
So my question is about the housing market and the interest rates that come with it. So I'm 31 years old, trying to get my first house. Now, being that the housing market is so high, the interest rates are so high, wondering what's going to be done with Donald Trump, his administration, versus Kamala. I don't think there's enough talk about it, really what's going to be done and how to get this down so we're not looking at having such a high payment, possibly not so much equity when we go out to sell it in the future. I was wondering what's your take on that?
Okay. Let me go through the two competing plans for Trump and Harris when it comes to housing and the cost of housing and where things are going to go. And by the way, did you see, Adam, that mortgage interest rates have gone back up? Yeah, there's a story in CNBC today that despite the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates, the mortgage rates have gone back up. And because of uncertainty in the markets, among other things. But so here are the two ideas. So Kamala Harris's idea is she wants to give everyone a $25,000 tax, essentially credit or deduction for buying a house. And that'll help you make your down payment by reducing it by $25,000. And then she wants to work with providing incentives for home builders to build more houses. She doesn't really say what those incentives are going to be. Now, here's the problem with Kamala Harris's plan. If the federal government gives you $25,000 for a down payment, you know what's going to happen is all of the costs of homes are going to go up by $25,000. Government subsidy leads to higher prices in the market. Everybody, free market economists, all the liberal economists, they all kind of agree with this, that if she gives you $25,000 to put a down payment, that's just going to actually drive up the cost of housing. And she doesn't really have a plan for incentivizing more home building. Now, here's the Trump plan for more home building. That is, get rid of the regulations. There's a massive number of regulations that are now related to the cost of materials, the cost of building, environmental compliance, OSHA compliance, everything else. Got the regulations. It makes it cheaper to build a house, which will mean the price of a house will come down, and also disincentivize local zoning rules that make it impossible to build single-family homes. There are in places around the country the NIMBYs, the not in my backyard people, who have made it harder to build small houses. In some parts of the country, that you've got to build multi-acre houses on multi-acre tracts. You can't build houses on a half-acre tract, etc. Becomes a problem. So Trump will take a deregulation approach, and Kamala Harris will take a subsidy approach. Now, I know basic economics, and in basic economics, the subsidy approach drives up prices. The deregulation approach drives down prices. But there's a catch with Trump as well. The catch with Trump are the tariffs. So Donald Trump wants to add tariffs to all imported products. A lot of home building materials are imported into this country. If he goes through with this plan, that'll drive up the costs. It would take some time to build them domestically, and even then, they couldn't be built as cheaply as they are overseas, so your costs would come up. So any offset for regulatory deregulation from the Trump plan would be offset by the increase in material cost. That's the problem. Now, if Trump goes through with deregulation but not the tariffs, it will be cheaper to buy a home in this country. Mortgage rates are coming down. Interest rates appear to be headed downward, which will also then drive down mortgage rates further, other than this little blip we're having right now. So the Trump plan seems to me to make more sense, but still, it's going to be difficult. Now, Caroline, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you, Eric?
Great.
I have a question. Since if it does go all Republican for both the Senate and everything, is there a possible that they could have a national election? I mean, just like make it a holiday?
Oh, I kind of favor the idea of a national holiday for everyone to go vote, provided,
right,
however, that we gut early voting. This 2 months of early voting in some states, I think, is ridiculous. Let's all go stand in line together, be miserable, and either sweat or freeze or get wet together.
Or make new friends.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Now, there's been a movement in the past to do it, but they can never get enough votes in Congress. Here's why. Contrary to the spin that Republicans don't want this, actually a lot of Republicans do, and what it is it has to do with the calendar of federal holidays. There are already so many federal holidays. They just added Juneteenth as a federal holiday. There's a concern with adding too many of these federal holidays, and that tends to be the labor concern among members of Congress is giving everyone off. So by law, you're allowed to take off Election Day to go vote. Your employer cannot deny you time off. What the Democrats say is that that's true, but if you're an hourly worker, they don't have to pay you the hours that you're standing in line. And the Republicans say that's true, but if you're an hourly worker and Election Day is a holiday, you're not going to get paid for that holiday time off either. So what's the point? So they can never come up with a good solution. I think the ultimate solution is they're going to have to find an existing federal holiday and say this is gone, and to replace it with Election Day. But the problem with that, of course, is that Election Day is only every other year, really. So what do you do in those off years? That's why we've never had an election holiday. There are good arguments on both sides. I'll tell you what I wish we would do is get rid of fallback and spring forward. And let's just use standard time. So, I'm actually a big advocate of daylight saving time, but I did see a map the other day. And if we had daylight saving time all year long, in New York City, for example, you would not have sunrise until 9 a.m. in parts of the wintertime. And even in the southern states, it would not get bright until well after 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning if we stayed on spring forward. So let's just do fallback and let's stay on regular time all year long. This spring forward fallback stuff. And perfectly, I think it's just kind of garbage at this point because like we're doing fallback this Sunday. So this coming Sunday, a lot of people thought it was this past Sunday. It's going to be this Sunday. 2 days from now, we're going to fall back. And you know what that's going to do? It's going to give this election an extra hour. And I'm so ready for this election to be over. I'm so ready for this election to be over. We need to have it done. We need to have it done. Okay. Wes, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Hello, sir. I appreciate you letting me host your show for 20 seconds and give your gums a break.
Thank you.
Yeah. I wanted to make a comment. You've talked before about how character matters, and I agree with you. But when I see people, and this goes for both the candidates and the people on stage speaking, but when I see first ladies up there and what they're spewing, it's just astounding to me. These ladies have made it to the highest level of female positions in this country, but you would think that they would offer more grace as an example, and it's just shocking to me, and it's quite sad.
Yeah, look, okay, so Wes, you're singing from my songbook here, and this is the thing that frustrates me the most about our present election cycle altogether is the character of our candidates should matter, and people, particularly on the right, have now rationalized, well, I'm not picking my preacher, I'm not picking a church elder, I'm just picking a politician, but we should want better from the politicians and their wives as well. We should want better from the politicians and their husbands as well. We should want better from the people who are to lead our country. And I honestly think it's a damning indictment on the American church that the American church has involved itself so much in politics, that the American church went from character matters with Bill Clinton to now we don't care, we're not electing our preacher. You want to improve the politics of the country, you improve the character of the candidates. You improve the character of the candidates by having the church stand up and say we're not going to compromise on this issue. But American Christians are all too willing to compromise on every possible issue so long as they can vote for one side and not the other side. They have become the cheap dates of American politics, and they're getting exactly what they deserve and exactly what they want. But it's across the board. You can't just say it's the Democrats. You can't just say it's the Republicans. It's all of them. It's absolutely all of them. And that's sad to see so many pastors and pulpits standing up and saying, we're not electing an elder for our church, so character doesn't count. No, character tells you a lot about people, and we've got people of bad character on both sides of the aisle, And I'm frustrated with the way the churches have decided to get involved in American politics these days. It's just not smart to me. John, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Good, Eric. How you doing today?
Good.
So, question for you: in election interference, why does the Secretary of State release data on who was voted early, and thus allows the campaigns to adjust their strategies? And to give you an example, as we talked about the other day, if the Democratic Party in Georgia knows they need 34+% Black Americans to vote, and they're only at 27%, wouldn't they adjust their strategy to try to get more Black Americans out to vote?
Yes. Okay. So here's why. There's a simple answer, John, and that is because secretaries of state are partisans. If they weren't releasing the data publicly, the secretaries of state would be releasing the data to their parties. There's no way you could keep a Democratic Secretary of State from whispering to the Democratic Party, here's what I know about early voting turnout. Same with the Republicans. So by law, they've got to be as transparent as possible about it. Likewise, because historically in this country, we do allow the parties to see the patterns of people voting, it adds to the transparency of the process. But since no way either side would keep it completely quiet from their own party, might as well make it fully transparent and let the parties adjust. It is a novel thing. It's a chessboard, and people are moving chess pieces around that board at the end. You provide them more data. You help them refine their strategies towards the end of the election. I personally, as a political junkie, think it's kind of cool that we have this amount of data. We can see the black vote, the white vote, the male vote, the female vote, the age vote. the partisan composition, and so the parties can adjust their strategies to the bitter end. It makes it a little more difficult and complex now from back when I had started running campaigns, when you didn't have this copious amounts of data. You couldn't make these sort of adjustments at the end, but now you can, and I think it adds to the process. And again, they're going to release the data to the partisans of their own side, so by releasing the data to everybody, I think it actually kind of helps the process along. The only downside here is that in the early voting process itself, when things go wrong, it allows the conspiracy theorists to seed the conspiracy theories to make people doubt the election. Just yesterday, a bunch of people were releasing a video of a group of Haitians in a car stating that they had only been in the country for 6 months and already had Georgia driver's licenses and had registered to vote. We're going to go vote. It's not true. The whole video is a lie. I don't know if it's the Russians doing it or someone else, but it's not true. But I've seen plenty of Republican operatives circulate the video attacking Brian Kemp and Brad Raffensperger and others in the state of Georgia, saying, look at this, look at what y'all have done. It's not true. The whole video is fake. And the number of Republican operatives circulating it still today after it's thoroughly been debunked just shows you how many of these people want to lie and they don't care about the truth. If we weren't early voting like we're doing, these things wouldn't happen. Between bank collapses, I don't know if y'all have seen this, mortgage interest rates going back up today. Even though the overall interest rate's going down, there's clearly something going on in the market right now. Swiss America has been warning about these things in the market and the secret war on cash. They're the trusted leader in precious metals. They have been for 40 years, and they've been warning people about the secret war on cash. If you're interested in safeguarding your hard-earned cash from the secret war on cash, you need their free report. They're rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. They can educate you on protecting your assets. You can get their report. It takes less than 15 minutes to read, and it can save you on your retirement and finances. You get a free copy by calling or texting 800-289-2646. The All-Out War on Cash, it's growing, it's spreading, it includes digital currencies. All you have to do is mention my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K, when you call or text 800-289-2646. That's 800-289-2646. 2646. You get the report completely for free from Swiss America. Mention my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K. All you have to do is text my name, Eric, to 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number, 877-973-7425. We must go to the tape here. We must talk about this conversation. This is Stacey Abrams on CNN.
We've seen, I want to ask about Liz Cheney in just 1 second, but early voting has been just breaking records from day one in Georgia. You have been working on improving voter turnout in Georgia for years. What do you think is driving this surge in early voting this time?
Well, while we are excited about who's showing up, we have to understand that turnout does not mean there's not voter suppression activity. A lot of those voters in 2020 were able to vote by mail. One of the reasons we're seeing early lines is because they can no longer use the easier method of voting by mail because of SB 202, because of SB 189, laws that Raffensperger and Brian Kemp supported and pushed forward. People who are disabled, people who have lost their homes are facing harder times casting their ballots, but they refuse to be silenced. And what we are excited about is that here in the state of Georgia, despite the government making it harder to cast your ballot, people are willing to fight to make it happen anyway. So they're showing up, they're standing in lines they shouldn't have to stand in because they believe their voices matter and that this election matters. And we believe they're standing in these lines, especially to support Kamala Harris.
Listen, Republicans could tomorrow get rid of everything, and she would still say it was voter suppression. There's no way. We have record turnout in the state of Georgia, and it's voter suppression. It's harder to do an absentee, but you know why it's people aren't doing absentee ballots through the mail this time. By the way, let me explain to you the process of doing an absentee ballot now in Georgia. What you do is you get online and you go to a particular website that the Secretary of State runs, and you put in your driver's license number. And it says, oh, the driver's license number matches your information. Fill out the form. And you fill out the form, and you print the form and sign it. You either send it as a PDF, or you drop it off, or you mail it, and you get your absentee ballot in the mail. You don't have to show photo ID because you write your driver's license number on it. And guess what? You know who pioneered this? The state of Minnesota, where Tim Walz is governor. That's right. So it's voter suppression. We have record turnout, but Stacey Abrams wasn't the one who enabled record turnout. And so Abrams is incapable of giving credit where credit's due, so she has to claim voter suppression. Got to claim voter suppression. And yet there's record turnout. More people have cast early ballots in Georgia now than they did during 2020. That's right. 67 million people have voted statewide or nationwide, and in Georgia, more people have been able to cast ballots this year in early voting than cast ballots in 2020 early voting. It is a remarkable turn of events, the amount of votes that have been cast now compared to 4 years ago. And yet she wants to say that it's voter suppression. She wants to say it's voter suppression because fewer people are voting absentee. They're showing up and standing in line. You know why so many absentee ballots were cast in 2020 was COVID. COVID was that. And in 2020, by the way, Stacey Abrams was willing to admit that COVID had everything to do with it. But now she can't say voters, she can't blame it on anything, so she's got to say voter suppression. Good Lord, these people. When we come back, let's switch gears. We'll keep taking your phone calls, but we got to talk about the crazy white progressive women.